Right, welcome back. I'm so glad we've got a little bit more time with you before we hit the 8 o'clock news bulletin. We've still got people singing songs behind us, and they've been particularly singing songs dedicated to Robert Sobukwe, of course. As we talk about Robert Sobukwe, I remember he was detained after the Sharpeville massacre. He was in prison for around about 9 years after that. I think he was only released in 1969 after the organized protest against past laws. But let's still focus in on human rights issues here. I've got JB Sibanyoni, who is the Commissioner for the Human Rights Commission, the South African Human Rights Commission. On a day like today, we talk of human rights. South Africa and human rights. We experienced some of the most atrocious human rights against a country during apartheid. But as we look to the future, we're still struggling, aren't we, with human rights in South Africa?
To a certain extent, yes, Leon, we are still struggling. Why so? Because some people don't know what are those rights that are enshrined in the Bill of Rights, which is contained in Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa Act. And then I think there is a need that people need to be educated. They should learn to what extent their human rights are based in the context of the Chapter 2 or of the Bill of Rights. In other words, it is upon a lot of people that we have to ensure that people know what rights are there. Yeah. Such rights that they were not there in 1960, that made it so that this day should be remembered as the National Human Rights Day.
You know, we look at South Africa and we talk about human rights. We talk about adequate housing, basic services. We talk about education, good health care. These are things that we are failing at, the basics as a country. And so many people point towards corruption as one of the biggest issues that is hampering us from allowing South Africans the benefit of having such wonderful services when it comes to human rights. Do you, as the Human Rights Commission, also believe this? If we had to rid ourselves of corruption, we as a country and its people can move forward and so much better.
Corruption, yes, to an certain extent, it delays the achievement of human rights. Corruption, to an extent, the monies or that need to be utilized to the benefit of the people, to the length and breadth of our country, are not utilized. Therefore, if the government, if the state can ensure that these monies are channeled towards assisting the people so as to achieve those rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, and then so that the money should not go to the pockets of the individuals. In other words, we need to say the state or the organs of state should put the people first, and then these resources should go towards the people.
What is your just very quickly, in terms of the Human Rights Commission, you take complaints from the public. What would you say are some of the biggest concerns and complaints from South Africans?
Thank you for asking that question, Leon. We are 24 years into the democracy. And when you look at the Constitution, it talks about the three main rights, namely human dignity. Yeah. Number 2, the equality. And number 3, the human rights and freedom. But we are sort of concerned, for example, because when you talk about equality, there is still a gap in South Africa. And then Section 9 of the Chapter 2 of the Human Rights, Chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights, it prohibits discrimination either by the state or discrimination by the people. In other words, it's a vertical as well as horizontal. Yeah. But I must tell you, for example, as the Human Rights Commission, when we receive complaints that the majority of them are based on equality and then on racism and the like, as one of the grounds upon which that the inequality is outlawed. Yeah, yeah. For example, let me quote to say, last time when we reported to the Justice Portfolio Committee, we had 749 instances on equality, and 505 of them were specifically based on racism. You find that people are using the K word.
Absolutely.
You find that people are prevented from accessing some of the facilities based on the ground of racism.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm devastated to hear that that's one of the biggest issues that the Human Rights Commission has to deal with in this day and age. Racism still topping the list of those human rights abuses that the Commission fields calls and complaints from the public. JB Sibanyoni, thank you very much for talking to us. He's one of the commissioners from the Human Rights Commission. It is just gone 8 o'clock. We need to go back to the Joburg studio and get your news.